Hello, everyone. Welcome back for the evening reading. We're going to return to the Tao Te Ching, and we're going to start with number 46. I'm going to, jump around tonight as a few resonate a little bit more in light of our current context than others do. Number 46. When a country is in harmony with the Tao, the factories make trucks and tractors. When a country goes counter to the Tao, warheads are stockpiled outside the cities. There is no greater illusion than fear, no greater wrong than preparing to defend yourself, no greater misfortune than having an enemy. Whoever can see through all fear will always be safe. One more time. When a country is in harmony with the Tao, the factories make trucks and tractors. When a country goes counter to the Tao, warheads are stockpiled outside the cities. There is no greater illusion than fear, no greater wrong than preparing to defend yourself, no greater misfortune than having an enemy. Whoever can see through all fear will always be safe. Number 53. The great way is easy, yet people prefer the side paths. Be aware when things are out of balance. Stay centered within the Tao. When rich speculators prosper, while farmers lose their land, when government officials spend money on weapons instead of cures, when the upper class is extravagant and irresponsible, while the poor have nowhere to turn, all this is robbery and chaos. It is not in keeping with the Tao. Number 54. Whoever is planted in the Tao will not be rooted up. Whoever embraces the Tao will not slip away. Her name will be held in honor from generation to generation. Let the Tao be present in your life, and you will become genuine. Let it be present in your family, and your family will flourish. Let it be present in your country, and your country will be an example to all countries in the world. Let it be present in the universe, and the universe will sing. How do I know this is true? By looking inside myself. If you want to be, 57. 57. If you want to be a great leader, you must learn to follow the Tao. Stop trying to control. Let go of fixed plans and concepts, and the world will govern itself. The more prohibitions you have, the less virtuous people will be. The more weapons you have, the less secure people will be. The more subsidies you have, the less self-reliant people will be. Therefore, the Master says, I let go of the law, and people become honest. I let go of economics, and people become prosperous. I let go of religion, and people become serene. I let go of all desire for the common good, and the good becomes common as grass. Therefore, the Master says, I let go of the law, and people become honest. I let go of economics, and people become prosperous. I let go of religion, and people become serene. I let go of all desire for the common good, and the good becomes common as grass. '58. If a country is governed with tolerance, the people are comfortable and honest. If a country is governed with repression, the people are depressed and crafty. When the will to power is in charge, the higher the ideals, the lower the results. Try to make people happy, and you lay the groundwork for misery. Try to make people moral, and you lay the groundwork for vice. Thus, the master is content to serve as an example and not to impose her will. She is pointed, but doesn't pierce, straightforward, but supple, radiant, but easy on the eyes. 59. For governing a country well, there is nothing better than moderation. The mark of a moderate man is freedom from his own ideas, tolerant like the sky, all pervading like sunlight, firm like a mountain, supple like a tree in the wind. He has no destination in view and makes use of anything life happens to bring his way. Nothing is impossible for him because he has let go. He can care for the people's welfare as a mother cares for her child. Number 60. Governing a large country is like frying a small fish. You spoil it with too much poking. Center your country in the Tao, and evil will have no power. Not that it isn't there, but you'll be able to step out of its way. Give evil nothing to oppose, and it will disappear by itself. Give evil nothing to oppose, and it will disappear by itself. Not sure about you, but to me, that speaks to nonviolent revolutions, nonviolent protest, which I believe the vast majority of those that are in the streets right now are doing. And I think we have to make sure that those that try to spin narratives attributing the actions of a few bad apples to this larger movement, that kind of spin is what we have to keep our eyes open for right now more than ever. Number 61. When a country obtains great power, it becomes like the sea. All streams run downward into it. The more powerful it grows, the greater the need for humility. Humility means trusting the Tao, thus never needing to be defensive. A great nation is like a great man. When he makes a mistake, he realizes it. Having realized it, he admits it. Having admitted it, he corrects it. He considers those who point out his faults as his most benevolent teachers. He thinks of his enemy as the shadow that he himself casts. If a nation is centered in the Tao, if it nourishes its own people and doesn't meddle in the affairs of others, it will be a light to all nations in the world. Number 63. Act without doing. Work without effort. Think of the small as large and the few as many. Confront the difficult while it is still easy. Accomplish the great task by a series of small acts. The master never reaches for the great. Thus, she achieves greatness. When she runs into a difficulty, she stops and gives herself to it. She doesn't cling to her own comfort. Thus, problems are no problem for her. Number 65. The ancient masters didn't try to educate the people, but kindly taught them to not know. When they think that they know the answers, people are difficult to guide. When they know that they don't know, people can find their own way. If you want to learn how to govern, avoid being clever or rich. The simplest pattern is the clearest. Content with an ordinary life, you can show all people the way back to their own true nature. I love that middle stanza. When they think they know the answers, people are difficult to guide. When they know that they don't know, people can find their own way. Couple more. Number 69. The generals have a saying: rather than make the first move, it is better to wait and see. Rather than advance an inch, it is better to retreat a yard. This is called going forward without advancing, pushing back without using weapons. There is no greater misfortune than understanding. I'm sorry, wrong words. That would have really been a botched line. There is no greater misfortune than underestimating your enemy. Underestimating your enemy means thinking that he is evil. Thus, you destroy your three treasures and become an enemy yourself. When two great forces oppose each other, the victory will go to the one that knows how to yield. One more time, and then we'll unpack it. The generals have a saying: rather than make the first move, it is better to wait and see. Rather than advance an inch, it is better to retreat a yard. This is called going forward without advancing, pushing back without using weapons. There is no greater misfortune than underestimating your enemy. Underestimating your enemy means thinking that he is evil. Thus, you destroy your three treasures and become an enemy yourself. When two great forces oppose each other, the victory will go to the one that knows how to yield. To me, this speaks to kind of the human predicament, which is we are perpetually being thrown into all these versus battles. America versus China, America versus Russia, black versus white, rich versus poor. Perpetually. Right? People that wear masks in public, people that don't wear masks in public, red state, blue state, Democrat, Republican. I really believe that we need to learn how to look beyond verses. We need to be able to see beyond this duality. This doesn't mean that right and wrong go away. This doesn't mean that by yielding, knowing how to yield, that we surrender and let those who would advance hateful ideas. This doesn't mean we let them just run roughshod over us. That's not it at all. What it's saying is that there's a way to advance the cause, to fight for what is right without making an enemy. It reminds me of a Bucky Fuller quote, which I don't have down word for word, but the general idea is you don't jump into broken systems and um, magically change them. You don't get people to gravitate to you within a broken system. What you do is you start to create a better system. You create something that is um, something that makes the old system obsolete. So yeah, don't get pulled into this false versus battle. Start thinking about how it is that you can create something new, something that makes this versus battle obsolete. I'm going to keep going, guys. This is the most, honestly, I had a very scattered, wild day of just like bouncing around and not feeling wildly productive. So I'm just going to keep going. Hope you don't mind. Number 70. My teachings are easy to understand and easy to put into practice. Yet your intellect will never grasp them. I struggle with the word grasp. My teachings are easy to understand and easy to put into practice. Yet your intellect will never grasp them. And if you try to practice them, you'll fail. My teachings are older than the world. How can you grasp their meaning? If you want to know me, look inside your heart. What do you know? Answered the question of the previous page, right? What does yielding ultimately mean? Yielding means opening your heart. It means love. '71. Not knowing is true knowledge. Presuming to know is a disease. First realize that you are sick. Then you can move toward health. The master is her own physician. She has healed herself of all knowing. Thus, she is truly whole. When we think about why dialogue breaks down, why people talk straight past each other, and why it is that there's just so much polarization and misunderstanding. It's because people get conditioned into a certain point of view, a certain way of thinking, a certain way of seeing. And when you come into contact with people that see the world very differently, people that think they know the same way you think you know, well, that's just is going to breed conflict. It's going to breed ongoing polarization. So, can we step into a place of not knowing? Can we step into a space of openness, of non judgment, AKA love? When they lose their sense of awe, people turn to religion. When they no longer trust themselves, they begin to depend upon authority. Therefore, the master steps back so that the people won't be confused. He teaches without a teaching so that people will have nothing to learn. Again, embracing not knowing, letting go of our past conceptions, our past ideas. Look at where we're at right now. You and me, and the person next to you, the person next to them, no one's ever been here before. No one's ever been in this exact situation. where you've got a global pandemic added together with protests and riots and, in many ways, the breakdown of a system or the systemic problems that must be addressed if we're going to move forward. If these problems have become systemic, it's because we've continued to go deeper and deeper and deeper down the well that is empty. And now we have to figure out how to open ourselves to new ideas, new solutions, and a new way of being. '73. The Tao is always at ease. It overcomes without competing, answers without speaking a word, arrives without being summoned, accomplishes without a plan. Its net covers the whole universe, and though its meshes are wide, it doesn't let a thing slip through. Last one, 75. When taxes are too high, people go hungry. When the government is too intrusive, people lose their spirit. Act for the people's benefit, trust them, leave them alone. Act for the people's benefit, trust them, leave them alone. I think if we look at how our government and our society really work right now, there's a lot of people in very high places that are not acting for the people's benefit. They're acting for their own benefit. And that's as true in government as it is in the private sector. It closes here with the line, trust them, leave them alone. In that you see echoes of, the need for the freedom of every individual to express themselves, to be who they are, to not be confined by any kind of dogma or old ideas about how we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to talk, how we're supposed to behave. The idea here is that we have the answer within us. And we've always had the answer within us. We don't need some strong man pretending to be in charge to protect us. We only have to look within ourselves to see what we're truly made of, to see what the driving force of our life is, the real thing, and to live from that. And if we do that, we're going to be okay. Thank you all again for your patience on this one tonight. Things have been wild. Things have been wild, but we're going to get through it, and we're going to come out of this better than we've ever been. But sometimes things have to get messy and get really confusing before clarity can come and things can start to make sense again. So during this time, I really implore you to pay attention, but also to not lose your center, not lose your connection to that innermost knower, that deeper wisdom that is inside you and also inside the person you think is your enemy. We are all from the same source. We're all part of the same life. And while we should fight for justice and fight for what we believe in and what we believe is right, an eye for an eye makes the world go blind, guys. At some point, sooner rather than later, we're going to have to stop fighting each other and start embracing each other and realizing that the world we want deep down is a world where fear gives way to love, where people don't have to be concerned or fearful of losing their lives when they walk outside their doors, when they go for jogs, when they go to a store. We can do better. And we all know we can do better. So, what do we do, right? What do we do about all this? As much as the dialogue right now needs to be about system change and about how we put in place, way better policies within police departments and, how we curb police brutality and demilitarize our police and all that. That is an outer manifestation of a deeper problem. Why are we militarized? Why do we have so many weapons? Why do we target specific groups within our society? Why are we so afraid? Why are we so afraid? We've been taught to be afraid. We've been taught to fear. We've been taught to hate. And we've been taught to hate for so long and taught to fear for so long that we forgot our true nature. And our true nature is love. And you know that. I'm not telling you anything new. But for some reason, The conditioned mind just clings to fear. It's been taught to be a certain way for so long that letting go and trusting love to lead the way has for some reason become an illogical path. And it's not an illogical path. It's actually the most brilliant thing we could do. And it starts with you and me. It doesn't start with big, broad, sweeping government decisions. It starts with individual human beings consciously choosing not to fear, not to give way to fear, not to give way to hate. So, if you want to change the world, be love. Be love, okay?